Hello everybody, it's vanburman here. Welcome back to another video, and I want to talk about the Nvidia 50 series announcement. It's actually quite good, I suppose, in a way, to get an update on the 40 series, which feels like it's been out for quite a while. I know we had the refresh with the Super and whatnot, but it feels as though it's been a bit longer than normal. I don't know if that is the case or whether that's just my perception on it or not. I don't know. And I don't think I've ever actually, to the best of my knowledge, ever bought a Super card. I've bought a TI before, but never bought one of the Super models. So maybe that's why it seems little bit longer, because I don't generally tend to take part in the refresh usually, and I think that's a good thing. Touch wood, personally. But yeah, so we have some numbers from Nvidia, and as always, given us, unfortunately, like really, and AMD do the same thing as well, but really unhelpful metrics, and quite frankly, fairly clickbaity headlines as well. So I'm not really sure where do I start, like on the top of the pack, on the middle of the pack. I think probably we can do this because, or we'll probably talk about the 70 model card. So they're saying that, I believe it's that one, is going to be equivalent to a 4090, which, if true, would be incredible. And I seem to remember the same sort of thing was being said this time around the 40 series launch. And it turned out, obviously, that turned out not to be the case. Moreover, because of the whole issue with the 4080 and 4080 Ti shenanigans that went on at the start. But I quite frankly do not believe for 1 second that the 600, I think it is 600 odd or £700 card is going to be equivalent to the previous nearly £2,000 card. It's not really a thing that would happen, and I don't think Nvidia would allow that kind of, in reality, allow that kind of uplift in performance unless, like, they literally had some sort of evolution in the graphics chip process. And maybe, don't get me wrong, there may be something there with, DLSS 4, some kind of, I don't know, there's frame gen already, but like next generation frame gen stuff, that simulates a similar performance, even if, in theory, with DLSS, it's not, there is a loss of quality or a loss of resolution. Whether it's noticeable or not is up for debate, and actually DLSS in itself is actually really good. So I'm not here to criticize any of the tools or things that are available to Nvidia. However, I do feel as though it obscures the real story of what goes on, and we don't quite get those correct comparisons until we actually see reviews and things coming out. That's very evident in the 4090 to 5090 performance metrics. So I got it up on my phone, which is not great. I know usually would have it up on the screen, but it's here, and you can see that green bar is much higher than the grey bar. So the grey bar is meant to be a 1x sort of baseline, and that's the performance of the 4090. And then the 5090 obviously is ahead of it in all aspects, or else what would be the point in releasing a new product? But they've used different settings and tools for the different games that they've run, and actually there aren't even that many games on here, because two of these are software. So one of them is DS Render and one of them is generative AI. I'm quite happy to say this quite openly. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the AI stuff. I think it does have its place, but in video games, not really. Like maybe in some sort of game mechanic way, in the same way that procedurally generated stuff, maybe, procedurally AI generated stuff might be more interesting. But yeah, that's not something that, I don't know, I'm yet to be convinced might be the way to put it. And then we've got like things like Black Myth Wukong there, where there's a 2x performance, basically, Alan Wake 2 and Cyberpunk 2077, all with full ray tracing, all with DLSS, and it looks like that they're going to be doing. It doesn't say it specifically, but then it does say that A Plague Tale only supports DLSS 3. So I'm assuming leaving space for assumption that those 3 games previously mentioned are all running on DLSS 4, which, according to this table, is only available on the new 50 series. So, and obviously we have heard previously that that's kind of an artificial lock off. But still, in any case, it's not apples for apples. And I think apples to apples, apples for apples. That's an interesting trade. So you don't get that full comparison. I mean, for me, there should be, realistically, some Nvidia should be honest enough to give us some scores without DLSS, without generative frame generation, almost like with and without ray tracing. I know that's kind of the big thing, but really, how many people do turn on ray tracing? I personally don't usually turn on ray tracing. Not even as a not even as a curiosity anymore. So yeah, unless games start coming with it being activated by standard, then I don't know, I guess like this out of box experience, right? And the figures are not representative of that. And then we've got A Plague Tale and also Far Cry 6. Now these two, which I will zoom into, and being very unprofessional, showing it on the camera, that shows like a 20 to 30% gain. Is it even 20? Something like that. 20 to 25% gain with these two, with DLSS and ray tracing. So Far Cry 6 with just ray tracing gets about a 20% uplift, and Plague Tale is almost 30% with DLSS. Once again, could be the new DLSS as opposed to the old one, and that might be that technological improvement that increases frame rates. But for me, I think the Far Cry 6 result is probably the most accurate. 20% is a good, decent bump, and that's what you would expect to see generation to generation. And it's quite unusual that you see anything really above that. I think I personally was pleasantly surprised with the 40 series launch, because that one actually had quite a big jump up from the 3080, from the 3080 to the 4090, but also because the 3080 and 3090 were quite close in terms of performance. The 4090 came out, and it was kind of really a different class of card, more like a TI, I suppose. But point being, big uplift there, like bigger than the 20%, more like the 30 to 40 range. Judging by the numbers that Nvidia have given us and all the caveats that are sort of in the testing methodology, if you like, or all the settings and that kind of thing, I kind of feel as though we're going to see a 20% uplift from the 90 to the 90 series, and then presumably from the 80 to the 80, or the 80 to the 80 Super to the 80. So you really got to look at it that way if that's something that you want to do to upgrade. The prices seem, well, they're quite frankly extortionate as always, but they are in keeping with how they priced the previous generation as well. So I guess that means it's okay. I mean, it's not, but everything's relative, right? They haven't gone for that next tier of pricing, although I don't feel like it's too far away. So yeah, if a 4070 is a 5070 is as powerful as a 4090, absolutely everyone should go and get one. In fact, I might even get one for the energy saving that you would get from moving from one to the other. However, I believe that is probably deeply caveated based on new technology, and not new, the new DLSS and that, and generative frame generation, regenerative frame generation. You know what I mean? And yeah, so therefore, in certain circumstances, right, maybe so. But what I will say is, I don't feel as though I'll be able to. Well, I absolutely won't be able to jump onto it in any way straightforwardly, because I like to watercool my cards as well, which means there needs to be a block available. Sometimes there is on launch, but they're quite much more difficult to get hold of and more expensive at launch. So generally, that's not really something that I tend to do anyway. But yeah, if if the 5090 is actually twice the performance of the 4090. When all things are equal, then yeah, I would obviously absolutely jump on that, because that would be a massive increase. However, I've not upgraded my computer at all since the 4090 came out. I still have, all right, well, have I upgraded? I've sort of side graded. I've got a 5800 X3D in there now rather than the 5900. Kind of a sideways move, but a little bit better for gaming. Not obviously less cores and that kind of thing, but I've not really noticed any difference either way, if I'm perfectly honest. And so, yeah, I don't know. Making that jump seems a little bit non-worthwhile, I would suggest. But we will see. And we'll need reviewers, like Gamers Nexus and other reviews that I trust. I mean, I'm interested to see Linus's and Jay's, obviously, whether I trust them as much as Gamers Nexus or not. I don't. But, if we see them being similar, then obviously there's a trust there by collaboration. So yeah, do let me know what you think, if it's something that you are thinking about or interested in. Maybe you have the same thoughts as me in regards to the performance claims. I mean, I think they usually over-egg them a bit anyway, or that does seem to be the case. But yeah, considering it has been a while, maybe there are these gains. Of course, that's the flip side. I also am not really that thrilled about having all this AI in video games. I think, like, creative applications, it probably, almost certainly, AI should be extremely limited. But, there's a time and a place for it and all that kind of thing. Whether it's here or not, I don't know. It's clearly a big thing, though. And maybe Nvidia should just concentrate and leave that in its enterprise offering. I don't know. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all very soon, and bye for now.